Good morning to you. You've been right the whole time. You say that your model is flashing red, and yet you think it's wrong. What do you mean?
Well, it's a model, and all models are simplifications of reality. And it's like a really simple model. If you think about it, it's one variable, the slope of the yield curve, long rates minus short rates. And I think that models sometimes fail. And this is a particular situation where if you look at the other data, it's just not consistent with at least a hard landing. It is consistent with slower growth. So the yield curve is saying that growth will be slow, but it's not obvious to me, looking at other information, that my model is giving a correct signal.
Right. Okay, but let's just go backwards for half a second. So we were talking about this model, I believe, since 1968. You've been right across the board. Is it the model that's been right across the board, or you personally have been right across the board? Have there been times where you have effectively looked at the model and said, I don't think the model's right?
No. So in the out-of-sample period, so this is my dissertation from 1986. So in the out-of-sample period, we've had 4 recessions, and there were 4 yield curve inversions, and I went with the model every single time. This is the first time where I'm saying, well, looking at other data, I'm not too sure.
Let me ask you a separate question, though, because the model may have been right over all these years, but how do you take into consideration or factor in what the Fed is or is not going to do in any particular cycle, if you will? Because part of the outcome can be affected by a group of people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So again, this model is very simple. So there's other things going on in the economy that basically is not incorporated into the model. For example, the Fed is a real wild card here. So they effectively inverted the yield curve to slow down economic growth. And the wild card is whether they will continue to basically, in my opinion, overshoot and drive rates up to such an extent that we put full brakes on the economy and the Fed drives us into recession. So that is a wild card. Right. I'm not sure what they will do.
How do you handicap that particular part of the situation? Because that may be that is the wild card, but that may actually be the pivot point that determines what the outcome is.
Yeah, so the Fed, as everybody knows, including the Fed, were very late to start to deal with the inflation problem. So the question is, will they be late again? So looking at the inflation data, it's pretty clear to me that we peaked. And I think that it's unnecessary to do additional tightening. But if they push really hard, they will drive us into a hard landing that's completely unnecessary. It's an own goal.